Just like in professional football, in APA football, injuries occur. And I would like to show you where on each individual card the player's injury rating is, and then explain the injury rating, and then go ahead and simulate a play so you could see how an injury would occur during the course of a play. Alright, let's look at Ray McDonald's card. If you look at the lower left hand corner of his card, you'll see the letter J. That's the designation code for injury. And then -0. The 0 is his rating. A J-0 player can only miss one play. So if he's identified as being injured and you go to the appropriate boards and roll the dice and it says he's out for the remainder of the game, you just ignore that, because J0, he has to sit for one play. Kerry Williams, he is a J-1, meaning that the most time that he could miss is the current quarter that he's playing in. So if he's injured and you go to page 6 and you look at the injury boards and it says, okay, he's out for the remainder of the game. Well, you just ignore that because he's a J1 rated player and he just has to sit out the remainder of the quarter he's in, and then he could enter the game in the next quarter. Jacoby Jones, J-2. That indicates, the 2 indicates the maximum amount of time that Jacoby Jones can miss due to injury is the current half that he's playing in. So if it's the first quarter and you go to page 6 after there's been an injury to determine, who was injuring, the duration of the injury, and it says he's only out for the remainder of the quarter, well then great. He only misses the rest of the first quarter and he could enter in the second quarter. But if it says, hey, he's out for the rest of the game, you ignore that because the most he can miss is the half that he's playing in. All right, Bernard Pierce. Bernard Pierce is a J-3 rated. The maximum amount of time that a J3 player can miss due to injury is just the remainder of the game that he's playing in. So if he's hurt in the second quarter and it says he has to, he's out for the remainder of that quarter, well then great, he could return in the third quarter. But if it says, hey, he's out for the remainder of the game plus 2 additional games, well, you just ignore that. He's a J3, he has to sit, he's done for that game, but he's able to play the next week. All right, Ed Dixon. Ed Dixon is a J4 rated player. That's the highest injury rating in APA football, meaning if the boards indicate that he's out for the remainder of the game and plus 2 games, well, that counts for a J4 player. He would be out that time. So let's say it's the opening week of the season. He's the injured player, and unfortunately the dice rolls a 2, and I look at the result on page 6, and the duration of the injury says remainder of game plus 2 games. Well, he can't come back to week 4. All right, let's go ahead and simulate a play here. We're going to say that Baltimore has the ball. It's at their own 42. It's 3rd down, and they're in B offensive index against the standard defensive alignment. The called play is an outside run. The dice roll is a 23. When I look at 23 on Ray Rice's card in the R column, it's a 32. So now I have to find the appropriate boards. All right, that's the correct boards. Outside run, B standard, 32. and that is the result of 2J. That indicates it's a 2-yard gain, so I'd move the football 2 yards, and that would make it 4th down and 1. I would annotate the 2-yard gain on the score sheet for Ray Rice, and injuries are always timed as half plays. So let's go ahead and do this to 4th and 1. All right, now the second part of this is the J indicates somebody's been injured. So now we have to determine first who was injured, and then for how long is that player injured. So you need to go to page 6 of this, and you're going to roll 1 die. Now, in the basic game, any even numbered dice roll indicates that it's an offensive player that's been injured. If it was an odd dice roll, 1, 3, 5, then it would have been a defensive player. Since I rolled an even number, that means an offensive player has been injured. Now take both dice, I should say, roll them and add them together. So that's not a 25, that's a 7. You're going to go to, we know it's an offensive player that's hurt. We're going to go to the chart here. Offense, dice roll 7, running back, which is Ray Rice. Okay, let's go look at Ray's. He's a J0, so that means, well, they got a punt for the scenario this, but he would have to sit out a play. And the thing is this, when you have to sit out a player any time, make sure you go to the depth chart, take a real close look at the reserves player ratings, because it might affect the team index, which in turn might affect if you're an A, B, or C. So be cognizant of that, and this would just be a half a play.